What if your life didn't need a complete overhaul? Just a quiet, consistent shift. Not loud resolutions, not a sudden spark of motivation, but something slower, like a plant turning towards sunlight without anyone noticing. Sometimes, we think we need dramatic transformation to feel alive again. But maybe the most powerful changes are the ones that happen gently, one honest choice at a time. The year begins in silence. You don't notice the first day it starts. There's no lightning bolt, no applause, no clear sign. Just a morning like any other. Except, maybe you pause for half a second longer before reaching for your phone. Maybe the thought comes and goes, what if I did things differently today? Change, real change, never feels like what we expect. We think it will come with clarity and certainty, but most often, it arrives quietly wearing the disguise of doubt, restlessness, or even boredom. It shows up in those odd moments when your usual habits don't feel quite right anymore. When comfort begins to chafe, when the things you once chased start to feel hollow. This is where the year begins. Not with action, but awareness. Something inside starts watching your life a little more closely. Your tone when you speak, the way your body feels after scrolling for hours, how you avoid silence, how you fill time, how you treat yourself when no one's looking. It can feel unsettling, like stepping into a room you've lived in forever, but now suddenly noticing how dusty the shelves have become, noticing how many things you've stored away, avoided, ignored. This awareness is not meant to shame you. It's an invitation to start small, to listen more, to stop trying to escape every moment that feels uncomfortable. This is the real beginning, not the gym membership or the new journal or the list of goals, but the willingness to sit with yourself, to look gently at the life you've built without defensiveness, without judgment, to feel the weight of your own choices and still choose curiosity over blame. You don't need a grand plan yet. You just need presence. Because once you're fully here, the rest starts to unfold. Like the way seasons change. Not because they force themselves to boot, because the time has come. And for you, maybe that time is now. The lie of the sudden shift. We're drawn to the idea of reinvention, as if we could wake up one morning and finally become someone else. The kind of person who wakes up at 5 a.m., never forgets to journal, drinks only herbal tea, and walks through life with unwavering clarity. But here's the truth. No one becomes someone else overnight. Not in a week. Not even in a month. The idea that we can flip a switch is comforting because it promises speed. It lets us delay the work, telling ourselves we'll start when we're really ready. But readiness doesn't come all at once. It sneaks in slowly through dozens of tiny decisions that seem meaningless at the time. You don't become disciplined by willing yourself into a new identity. You become disciplined by noticing the urge to quit and choosing not to, just for today. You don't become more present by escaping your old patterns in one clean break. You become present by returning again and again each time you drift. It's easy to idolize people who seem changed. But behind their glow is usually a long, hidden trail of missteps, self-doubt, and quiet persistence. They weren't better than you. They were just willing to begin before they were perfect. That's the real lie. That change is a moment. It's a momentum. And momentum is slow at first. So slow, you'll want to quit. So quiet, you'll think it's not working. But then something shifts. A morning where you feel just 1% lighter. A conversation where you don't react the way you used to. A day where the noise in your head isn't quite as loud. You won't always notice it right away. But that's okay. Because life isn't asking you to become someone new all at once. It's asking you to return to yours again and again until it starts to feel like home. Learning to live in the in-between. There's a strange space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's not dramatic, not easily defined. Just a slow, quiet drift away from old versions of yourself. And for a while it feels like floating, not yet anchored in the new, no longer safe in the old. This in-between can be lonely. You've outgrown certain habits, certain people, certain environments, but you haven't quite found what replaces them. You start showing up differently. But the world hasn't caught up. People still expect the same responses, the same patterns. And when you don't deliver, there's friction, confusion, even guilt. That's the part no one really talks about. How change requires grieving. Grieving the comfort of old rhythms. Grieving the identity that once kept you safe, even if it was limiting, it was familiar. And the unfamiliar is where all your insecurities come to the surface. Who am I without these routines? What if this new path leads nowhere? Am I just pretending to grow? It's okay to not have the answers. This space is not meant to be rushed. It's meant to be felt. Because it's here, in this raw and uncertain place, that your inner compass starts to whisper. Not shout, not demand, just whisper. Maybe it tells you to rest instead of grind. Maybe it asks you to speak your truth when it would be easier to nod and smile. Maybe it invites you to choose discomfort over escape. And slowly, you learn to trust it. Not because it guarantees ease, but because it brings you closer to something real, something honest, something that doesn't need to impress anyone. Living in the in-between is not a failure. It's a sign that change is actually happening. You're in motion even if it doesn't feel like it. This is the cocoon phase. Messy, uncertain, but necessary. Don't rush it. Just breathe through it. Because what comes next will ask more of you, but it will also give more back. Small things become sacred. At some point, you begin to notice the quiet things. How the morning light softens your room. How the sound of boiling water calms your nerves. How putting your phone away for 10 minutes feels like a homecoming. These moments used to pass you by too small to matter. But now, they feel like anchors. Tiny rituals that root you in the present. You begin to see that change doesn't always come from doing more. Sometimes it comes from doing less, but with intention. Making your bed, not as a chore, but as an act of care. Sitting with your coffee, not to rush through it, but to actually taste it. Pausing before you speak. Looking someone in the eye when you say, "Thank you." It sounds simple, almost too simple. But this is where the deeper shift begins. Not in the big, loud gestures, but in the sacredness of the ordinary. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when you start treating small moments with reverence, life slowly mirrors that energy back to you. You're no longer performing change. You're living it. You're not waiting for a perfect day to feel aligned. You're choosing alignment in imperfect ones. That's the secret. Life doesn't ask you to be extraordinary. It asks you to be awake. And the more awake you are, the more beautiful everything becomes. Even the mundane, especially the mundane. Discomfort is not a detour. Eventually, the resistance comes. You miss a day or two. The old habits creep back in like fog through an open window. And for a moment, it feels like you failed. But this is part of it. Discomfort isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're finally moving through something real. Growth doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like friction, like pulling weeds that keep growing back, like sitting with silence that used to be filled by noise. Your mind will try to convince you that it's easier to return to what you know. It will tell you, you were fine before. This isn't working. What's the point? But here's the truth. The discomfort is the work. It's the burning off of what no longer fits. The rewiring of patterns carved over years. You're not broken. You're in transition. No one talks about how painful it is to become someone who no longer abandons themselves. To stay in the room when your instincts scream to run. To feel the itch for escape and choose presence instead. It's hard, but it's holy. You're not lost. You're shedding. The discomfort doesn't mean you've gone off track. It means you're in the middle of the process, where things get messy before they get meaningful. So don't turn back. Breathe. Feel what you need to feel. And then keep going. Not because it's easy, but because the person you're becoming is worth the discomfort it takes to meet them. The slow building of trust. There's a point, somewhere deep into the process, when you realize you're not waiting anymore. Not waiting to feel ready. Not waiting for the right mood, the right day, the right sign. You've stopped bargaining with yourself. And in its place, something quieter arrives. Trust. Not the loud, confident kind, but a slow, almost invisible kind. Like water wearing down stone. You begin to trust that you can do hard things, even when they don't feel good. You begin to trust that showing up imperfectly still matters. You begin to trust yourself with your own life again. This trust doesn't come from perfection. It comes from repetition, from choosing again and again, even after you mess up, from treating your setbacks not as reasons to stop, but as reminders to return. And when you do return, something shifts. The voice in your head becomes less cruel. The urge to quit loses its sharpness. You start saying things like, "I can handle this," and actually believing it. You no longer need proof that you're changing because you can feel it. In how you breathe through conflict, in how you pause before numbing, in how you respond to the quiet voice inside that says, "This matters." And while the world may not notice the difference yet, you do. You feel it in the space between reaction and response, in the way you hold yourself when no one's watching, in the moments where you used to spiral, but now you stay still. That's what trust gives you, a steady ground inside yourself. Even when life is chaotic, not everything will be perfect. You'll still fall into old patterns sometimes, but you'll get up faster. You'll be kinder to yourself in the aftermath. And most importantly, you'll keep going. Because trust isn't built in the highs. It's built in the boring, quiet, ordinary days, where you choose to believe that who you are becoming is already worth showing up for. Letting go without closure. Not everything that shaped you will come to a clean ending. Some chapters close with a whisper, not a bang. Some people drift away without goodbye. Some versions of you fade before you even realize they're gone. We often think that in order to move on, we need clarity, an apology, an explanation, a final moment that ties everything together. But real growth asks for something harder, to let go without all the answers, to make peace with the fact that you might never understand why certain things happened the way they did, why someone hurt you, why you stayed too long, why you abandoned parts of yourself just to feel safe. You won't always get closure from the world, but you can give it to yourself by deciding that your healing doesn't depend on someone else's awareness. By choosing to forgive not because it was okay, but because you're tired of carrying the weight. By understanding that grief isn't just about losing others. It's about releasing the person you thought you had to be. You can love who you were and still outgrow them. You can thank the pain for what it taught you and still walk away. You can close the door quietly, gently without slamming it shut. Because this isn't about erasing your past. It's about no longer letting it write your future. Some days, you'll feel the ache of what's been left behind. That's okay. That's human. But over time, the ache softens. And in its place comes something more powerful. The knowing that you're no longer trapped in a story that doesn't fit. You're writing a new one now. And it begins, not with certainty, but with release. Becoming the quiet proof. One day, without planning it, you'll catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and pause. Not because something looks different, but because something feels different. There's a softness in your eyes you hadn't noticed before. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of peace. A quiet steadiness that didn't come from winning or fixing or proving. It came from staying, from choosing, from trying, even when no one was watching. You've become the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves, who doesn't need to announce the journey to feel its depth. You've stopped chasing the aesthetic of change and started living the reality of it. That's the most powerful transformation of all. Not becoming someone louder, flashier, more impressive, but someone real. Someone who can sit in silence without needing to fill it. Someone who can hold space for both joy and sadness without running from either. Someone who no longer needs permission to begin again. You are the quiet proof of what consistency can do, of how deeply things can shift when you don't give up on yourself, of how a year isn't just 12 months, but thousands of chances to return to what matters. And somehow, almost without noticing, you've become someone you trust. Maybe it took 12 months. Maybe it took longer. But in the end, it was never really about the year. It was about how gently you began, how many times you returned, how you stopped looking for shortcuts and started listening inward. You didn't need a breakthrough. You needed a rhythm, one that made space for rest, one that honored effort without demanding perfection, one that allowed you to be both a work in progress and already enough. And now, you're here, not at the finish line, but at a deeper beginning, with more clarity, more trust, more truth in how you move. So, if this spoke to something inside you, pause for a moment, take a breath, let it land. And if you're ready to start your own quiet change, you don't have to do it alone. Leave a comment below and share what you're letting go of, or what you're stepping into. And if this resonated, consider liking, subscribing, or sharing it with someone who might need the same quiet reminder. That transformation isn't loud. It's honest. It's passionate. And it starts right here. Thank you for watching.